The Colts' decision to hand the starting job to Daniel Jones is a short, sharp pivot that tells you more about the organization's priorities today than it does about Anthony Richardson's long-term ceiling. On paper, it's blunt. A veteran with a mixed track record steps in as the solution right now, while the former number 4 overall pick slides to the bench. In practice, it's messier, emotionally, commercially, and practically, and the fallout will play out across 3 overlapping timelines: locker room dynamics and player development, near term; roster and trade market consequences, medium term; and franchise identity, quarterback strategy, long term. First, the optics and the agent's comments. Derek Jackson's line that trust is questionable is a loaded one. Agents often speak to protect leverage and narrative, but this phrasing crosses from PR into a clear signal that the Richardson camp feels sidelined, not simply outplayed. That perception matters. If Richardson believes the front office favored a veteran before the competition even started, whether true or not, you risk eroding buy-in. The player's public response was professional and measured, which mitigates some immediate locker room drama. He said he respects the decision and will keep working. Still, the agent's comments will harden media narratives and could introduce friction in negotiations later: extensions, trade talks, rehab of public image. Second, evaluate the football rationale. The Colts' stated reasoning, Jones is a better fit and they want stability, is defensible. Jones brings clean mechanics, experience in pro reads, and a recent body of work demonstrating he can run a designed NFL offense, albeit with turnovers at times. For a team that might be in win now or at least do not implode mode, an experienced hand can reduce variance. What the Colts are implicitly accepting is lower upside in exchange for predictability. That trade-off makes more sense if the offensive line, weaponry, and defense are viewed as good enough to give a veteran quarterback a legitimate chance. It makes less sense if the rebuild curve is still steep and the real value is extracting development from a higher upside athlete like Richardson. Third, the health and development context. Richardson's brutal injury history, missed games, and clear areas of growth, accuracy, processing, and pocket presence are why the Colts may have felt uncertain. If he truly made the improvements the agent claims, the club still has the right to prioritize readiness over potential. The key question: were Richardson's shortcomings fixable with more coaching and reps, or are they showstoppers that justify benching him now? The team's decision suggests they saw the latter, at least for Week 1. For Richardson, the task is now surgical. Show steady, measurable improvements in the practices and preseason reps, reduce turnovers in live settings, and demonstrate leadership and preparation that make the coaches uncomfortable benching him further. Fourth, the trade and contract implications. Richardson is still on his rookie deal, team-controlled salary scale, so cutting or releasing him outright isn't on the table. The likely outcomes are keeping him as a backup, trading him, or continuing to develop him. Trading a former number 4 pick who has flashed elite traits is possible but tricky. Other teams covet upside, but his injury history and football polish will hurt perceived value. If the Colts want to extract value, the next 2 windows matter: pre-cut trade chatter before Week 1 and during early season injuries. The agent's tone may be calibrated to prompt interest from other clubs or accelerate a contract conversation. It can work, but it can also sour relationships. Fifth, roster construction and competitive timeline. If Indianapolis views this season as one where playoff contention is realistic, Jones as a safer short-term bet is logical. If the franchise's horizon is still rebuilding, benching a high-ceiling young QB reduces optionality. You lose real-time developmental reps that can be earned only in games. The Colts must be crystal clear internally about their timeline. Do they want the highest probability of immediate wins, or do they value long-term upside? Their choice here suggests the former, at least for now. Sixth, the human element and culture risk. Young quarterbacks need confidence. Benching a player publicly without a clear developmental pathway can harm confidence and stunt growth. Conversely, a coach who benches a player for performance and then shows a defined plan for development, targeted reps, mental coaching, clear metrics, can repair trust. The Colts need to pair the benching with clear, transparent communication to Richardson. Why, what specifically he must improve, and when he'll get reps again. Anything less invites souring relationships and public leaks. What will likely happen next? Short term. Indianapolis will run with Jones as the Week 1 starter, using him to stabilize the offense. Richardson will stay in the building, expected to be a backup and continue developmental work. Media noise will escalate because of the agent's comments, but Richardson's own professionalism will temper the storm if he stays publicly supportive. Medium term, if Richardson shows clear progress in practice and preseason reps, the Colts may pivot back or at minimum preserve him as a trade asset. If he stagnates or injuries recur, the Colts could seek a trade partner or let him play out his rookie contract as depth insurance. Long term, the benching signals that Colts management is risk-averse in the present. That can be right or wrong depending on team goals and the visible upgrade Jones can deliver. If Jones performs and the Colts contend, the decision will be lauded. If Jones underperforms and Richardson flourishes elsewhere, this will be judged a franchise misstep. Practical advice for both sides. For Richardson team, focus on control. Richardson should keep public statements about team support, double down on training, and deliver measurable practice improvement. The team should provide a clear development plan with checkpoints and keep lines of communication open with his camp. For the Colts, protect roster value. If they don't see Richardson as their long-term answer, don't let him walk for nothing. Explore trades quietly. If they do, commit to a structured development timeline and communicate it transparently to avoid unnecessary locker room fallout. Bottom line, this benching isn't the end of Richardson's NFL story. Far from it. It's a fork in the road. How he responds and how the Colts manage him will determine whether this chapter is a temporary detour or the start of a longer separation. Imagine working your whole life to be the guy, only to walk into camp and find out you're not starting, not even for Week 1. That's where Anthony Richardson finds himself after the Colts named Daniel Jones their starter for the season. Indianapolis Colts head coach Shane Steichen didn't call it a temporary fix. He said Jones is the starter for the season and he doesn't want a short leash. That's a decisive message from a coach who's choosing experience over upside. ESPN.com, Richardson took the news with class in the locker room, saying you have to respect the decision and keep working, and that it doesn't erase the progress he's made this offseason. But his agent, Derek Jackson, gave a far sterner read, telling ESPN that trust between Richardson and the Colts is questionable right now, and that we have a lot to discuss. Those words stop sounding like routine agent talk when your player was the number 4 overall pick in 2023 and still sits on the bench. Indianapolis Colts. The broader picture is messy. Daniel Jones arrives as a known commodity, veteran leadership, fewer fireworks, more predictable game management, a profile that appealed to a team aiming to win now. But Jones's history includes turnover problems and an uneven tenure in New York, which is why some fans and analysts are puzzled this is the clear long-term move. NFL.com for Richardson, this is a tough crossroads. Injuries and inconsistency have dogged him, missed games, accuracy questions, and snapshot plays that alternate between playmaking brilliance and risky decisions. Yet coaches and reps who watched him this summer say he improved. His agent insists camp went well. So why the decision? That's where trust, preparation, and the optics of competition collide. ESPN.com. Here's what could happen next. The Colts keep Jones and try to win now, hoping stability outweighs Richardson's upside. Or they keep Richardson, commit to developing a generational athlete, and accept short-term growing pains. The wild card is chemistry. If players and staff side with Jones' steadiness, Richardson may find his path blocked. If questions of trust aren't patched, both sides could soon have serious conversations about the future. Bottom line, the benching is more than a depth chart move. It's a judgment call about the franchise's timeline and trust in a young QB. Richardson's public reaction was measured. His agent's reaction was not. Which one do you believe will define the outcome? The player who keeps grinding or the relationship that might unravel?